All right, so I wanted to get on here today and just kind of talk about really some videos that I started watching, and it's kind of been on my mind, I think, really over the last week or so. And I don't know, I feel like maybe like these things that are now crossing my algorithm, like they're starting to like answer some of the things that's just been on my mind. So basically, a lot of the videos that I was watching was around desirability and influence, the placement of women in particular. I came across this one video where they was talking about an influencer, and this influencer, I guess she just got viral, but she is she has like a accent. I don't know if it's really her accent, but she got hot because she was pretty much conventionally attractive, and she was on TikTok, I believe, or wherever, selling coaching courses or dating courses or whatever. And she's known for like giving a lot of like dating tips. So she'll talk to both the women and the men. And so she sold these courses for like a couple $1,000s. And but come to find out, like somebody had exposed her because they said that's not really she really doesn't have the credentials. She don't really know what she's talking about. But a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon, and they took her as somebody who was legit just simply because she was attractive and she had a British accent. And everybody knows like having like a British accent just automatically makes you sound smarter and intellectual, especially to Americans. So like between that and the way that she talked, very like educated and sophisticated. And, she just had the package. She was, she walked and talked like a duck, but she wasn't a duck. But the lady was talking about like, in situations like this where like human beings are pretty much very primal, especially like when it comes to like the basis of desirability, even outside of like wanting to like fuck somebody or whatever, just something as simple as, do they deserve to be heard? All you really have to do is just look attractive or sound attractive, because you just have to please the senses, stimulate the senses. And that's really what it is. Whether you're being pleasing to the eye or to the ear, somebody smells good, like literally, like if you could tap into the senses in some way, shape, or form, you have a level of influence and, reach to get people to do what you want, do your bidding, so to speak. And I thought that was pretty interesting because like over the last couple of days, I've really taken an interest into learning about early civilizations. For one, I'm working on an ebook called Engage with Your Audience. So it talks about design and how the basis of design and how it works, in particular visual design and branding, and being able to use that as like survival and social cues, and how modern practices and modern applications really isn't that it isn't new. It's actually a very primal thing that's been carried on for generations and generations. It's encoded into us or embedded into us. So I've been taking like a lot more interest into like learning about that, and like just in like I was watching like one movie. It's called The Word Sisters. It just came across like on my YouTube channel. I think it was just on autoplay for animation. But it was actually really, really good. It's a British animation, old school, but it was set in early London, where, where basically like it was right around the transition between like paganism and Christianity. So not full blown Christianity, but it was still like in like that early pagan type of lifestyle. And so like I started thinking about that because the main characters are surrounded about around these witches. And I learned through watching that movie that witches, like these characters at that time, were almost like considered like clergy in a way. Like they didn't pay taxes, they were respected, and they were even feared. People had their comments and criticisms of them, but for the most part, as a society, they were not demonized. But in my own research of like studying witchcraft back then and how these ancient civilizations were, I started getting like really curious about Christianity and like how that became of influence. And one of the things that they did was, and even in the movie, was that they started to tell lies against the witches to kind of make people, like the citizens, believe that the witches were of evil. And some of the things that they accused them of was really a lot of it was he say, she say things. It really wasn't like too much hardcore evidence, and it was something that was generally for people of higher classes. Yeah, some of them maybe just like common folks, but there was a time period where a lot of it, the accusations was around people who are of a higher caliber, and usually it's attached to unexplained deaths and things like that. And so like one of the traits that witches was like the lure that they came with, because and of course like you can think like back then, it like say if like witches were to be in our civilization now, like the things that that they're able to accomplish, maybe to us now we might not find it as amusing because we have so much more knowledge and technology. We might, but I would imagine back then, like them being able to interpret certain things and come up with like different ways, or, like a lot of it really was just based on belief and influence, and it is a pretty powerful thing because ultimately what you think can't come into existence. But like, yeah, like it's just like a lot of them were said to have like these very magical powers, and they had like this gift of actually seeing like the spirit realm and looking at like images in a very multi-layered complex. And then you also got to think about it too. Back then, literacy wasn't a thing. Writing wasn't even a thing. Not really. A lot of it was really just like pictures, symbols, the way to identify people. But where was I going with this? One of the things that for witches was that they had a lot of influence. They were, especially like the men and some of the women, they were attractive. And because some people felt attraction to them, they were able to get them to do whatever they want. But then like you also have to think like, is it really just like, was it really witchcraft, or was it just because that person was attractive? That, and a lot of times like these people, they don't know that, it's just something that kind of comes easy to them, that people can just, just get people to do what you want. And so like in the midst of me thinking about that and discovering all of that, I watched another documentary that I actually talked about. It wasn't a documentary, it was a podcast where Karen Howe, I believe that's her name, she did an interview on a podcast talking about like her time with working with OpenAI back when Sam Altman and Elon Musk was working together, and how she was even talking about how like the founders, they will have like this level of influence on them, and they just gotta look the part, sound the part, be able to give you this energy, and then like you can walk out of there doing exactly what they told you to do. You can voluntarily do it. And so like, I don't know, a lot of that again is just things that I'm just like noticing, just connecting the dots about like how perception, and again, it may not have to be somebody being conventionally physically attractive, but again, it could be the energy. Like I've seen guys who are shorter than me, can pull bad women just because they exude that kind of energy. Same thing for women, it may not be being conventionally attractive. You can just have the intellect, be cunning. And some guys, they would get behind that, or some women would get behind it, or rally behind it. And so I came across this other video. Her name is Zoe, but like I've been following her for years. She's a plus size content creator, influencer, and I always admired her because like she reminds me of my cousin. She's confident in herself because like it's just like for me, like I always notice like even as plus size women, like the ones who really get put up on a pedestal, they still have like certain features that make them conventionally attractive. So maybe like they have smaller European features, they might have a lighter skin, they might be, as you see all the time in plus size, where they are the right kind of plus size, like curvy in the boobs and in the hips area, flat stomach, or minimal bulge. But like for her, like I kind of resonated with her because like she looked like me and like a lot of other plus size women I grew up around, being darker, being unambiguously Black, African looking, and being plus size, and being like truly plus size, like actually having rolls and a stomach that actually hangs over, and being able to really jiggle. And so like I've been following her, and she got the weight loss surgery like I did, and I've watched over the years, like she never let her size deter her or dictate, how she should present herself to the world. She put herself on the pedestal, and she said, I'm just gonna be wearing what I want to wear. I will be wearing, my lashes. I will be getting done up. I will be going out to the clubs. I will be getting bottles and tables, and I'll be having a good time, because this is not just something that's reserved for the young, thin, and pretty. Like, and that's the image that they try to put out, with a lot of people, is that if you live this getting flued out and partying and vacation, this is only for the Insta baddies. When in reality, that's really not. It's really what you make of it. And that's one of the things I really admire about her. But like, I was watching her video because since then she lost a lot of weight, and then she ended up getting like reconstructive surgery. So basically lipo, like she got the whole mommy makeover thing. So she looks great. I'm not gonna lie though, like when I saw that, when I saw how she revealed like her weight loss and stuff like that, I wasn't jealous or anything like that, but I did feel a way. And even now, like some of the groups that I'm in, like the Facebook groups and stuff, where people started the surgery around the time I did, and they are now in the phase of them having like the flat stomach and stuff. And it's just like, for me, for the last 2 years, I say, 1 or 2 years, I'm still struggling to lose like another like 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds. And that's all I need to get it done. But it's like, it's just not budging. And I'm really like insecure about like my stomach and my arms and stuff. Like I have to show it now. Like I'm at the point now where it's just like, I can't just wear long sleeves for like the next few, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get the surgery, but in the meantime, I live in the South, and like, I'm not about to be walking around with long sleeve shirts in the South, in Southern summer. Absolutely not. So like, I just sucked it up and just started just wearing my arms out. But like, I don't like the way they look, because it's like everything else I'm cool with. Like even like the fact that I don't even deal with the stomach a little bit. Like the arms in itself is like one of the things that I really don't like, because I have a lot of skin. I carry a lot of weight in my arms, and like everybody says that I'm pretty and I look good and stuff like that. Even like my body still being plus size, like I find that my arms is just one of those things where it just what's the word? It just puts a little tinge on like the image that I want. But at the same time though, I try not to again beat myself up about it or let it influence me. At least I try not to, because like I still have to live my life and I still have to hold myself to a certain standard, with myself and with other people. And not only that, like despite my arms not looking the way it is, like my arms carried me and got me through so much. It's my arms that allowed me to be an artist and connect with people and stuff. So, there are things that I'm very appreciative and blessed to have. Like some people are not even blessed to use their arms. Some people don't even have it. I learned to appreciate the things that I have. But, like when she was like back to Zogi, when I was watching her video, she was talking about like ever since she lost the weight, her experience has been very different. And, one of the things she talked about was when losing the weight, people started to treat her very differently. When she was bigger, people liked her for certain things. Of course, a lot of it was based on personality. And also, there were some people who didn't want to be associated with her, or there were some people that would be associated with her because she was safe. She wasn't somebody that made people feel a way about themselves. And I can resonate wholeheartedly, with that too. Like, even for me growing up, I was really quiet to myself. And I don't know where it really came from. I think it's just a mixture of things, but I know one of the things is that I just didn't want to like be bothered, and I think it's just something I've noticed like early on, like the way some people were buddy buddy and some people like really just entertaining each other just because they fit some sort of narrative. Even as a kid, it really just turned me off. The granted, I did participate in some of it. I think we all did just as kids, just being social and being in your peers and stuff. But for the most part, though, I just kept to myself. On occasion, I had a few friends. Like just growing up as a kid, every time I went to a new school, I always had a guy who liked me, but I never really like been in like relationships or anything like that. So I was never seen as like the desirable one. And I think like when I really started to get into like dating, my first boyfriend, I can't even claim him as my first boyfriend because we never kissed. So, I never really like had the experience where like I would go to a party or something, and then I'll meet a guy or some guy would approach me and want to ask for my number and like that stuff like that didn't happen for me. So like I grew up just like not being like the noticed one, and I don't think I've ever really felt too much of a thing about it, and I've grown to be quite comfortable in the shadows. Now, fast forward though, one of the things that she talked about was that in contrast, when she started losing the weight, people were embracing her. They were, oh, you can, sit at our table. There are guys that were approaching her, and it was just more of like the association and affiliation. Like it just seemed like the world almost became her oyster, like where people just started to gravitate, towards her and offer her things, even something as like, let me open the door for you or something. And it's just something that she just noticed, and she was just like, that's something that she's just keeping in mind now of how it's night and day, when people have a different perception about you. For me, I had the same thing too. And that was another thing that I was thinking about too, like how ever since I lost the weight, like for one, since I've came out of surgery, I can admit I did lose a lot of weight. But I don't really feel like I do. And I think it's mainly because the arms and stuff like that, I still got the challenges with that. And my stomach, I still have to like I don't have to, but like I still wear shapewear to flatten it out. And in fact, I think it's more prominent now because everything else has came down, but now my stomach is like more noticeable and my arms are a lot more noticeable. But like ever since I came down though, when I've been able to like wear my long sleeve shirts and stuff like that, I did get a little bit of a difference of the way people treated me. I don't know so much about the women, but with guys, yeah. Like even just like, I've walked and again, I don't go out very much, but when I do, I've had guys say that I'm beautiful or I'm cute. I've had a guy, like maybe two guys follow me, in their car trying to talk to me. Like I can walk in a room and nobody has to say anything, but I can just feel like the looks, on me. And it came off kind of a shock, and again at this time, like I was still wearing the weaves and stuff like that. So with the body that I had and the shape that I was coming into, like and it started to look more hourglassy. I still had the stomach, and then I was working out. I started to grow behind. I never really had a behind. Being plus size, I still didn't have the butt. I had more hips than anything, but I started to look more curvier, thicker, and guys would notice that, and I would notice that I was noticed about that. And I don't know. I think for that came off a little bit of a shock to me because like I wasn't used to that type of attention. Again, I'm comfortable being in the shadows, but then like you kind of have to be pushed out in the forefront, and sometimes you don't want to do that. So it's just like between all of that, I came across like a guy who ended up mentoring me, and then I got like a taste about through his world, like being around like entrepreneurs and people in that space, and just seeing that the way that they dress and come across. I don't know. I still talk to him, but I'm just not really a part of that space, and I don't think I would want to be in that space because I don't fit that aesthetic. Like it's just not me. So after a while, like I started noticing like with the body transformation, I was going through a spiritual transformation, all types of stuff, and eventually like I started thinking about growing locks. I tried it the first time for like a good 3 months. It didn't work out. I went back. But then the second time, I was just like, my edges was already like falling out, with the weight loss and stuff. I was trying to rebuild that, but like me wearing the weeds wasn't helping. And I think with the weight loss and then the identity issues and also going into entrepreneurship, I almost forgot to mention that like being in that space, I started to like take more steps into like being a business owner. And even right now, I'm still trying to get step into that role fully. But that's the other thing is like when you're in that space, especially like the agency space, now it's like I have to be confident in myself. I have to get comfortable with being seen. And I don't know, like for me, like I'm just not into it. I'm just not into it because I know the energy that comes along with that. So like I think I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place, but I wanted to talk about like the transition when I went to my locks. So I started off doing 2 strandless, and I thought about it. I was like, I'll have it in because I was going on a trip, and I'll keep it in for like a good month, a couple months. I kept it in for like a good 3, 4 months. And by the time I came back from my trip, I had already took the wig off. And at that point, like the wig just started to like, I don't know, it just started feeling like a hat to me. It was just a lot of things I was just starting to shed, like even with wearing shapewear and stuff. That was one of the reasons why I got the weight loss surgery. I was just like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this shapewear. And like, I feel like I'm lying to myself. And when I was wearing the wigs and stuff, it was the same. I kind of felt like I wasn't really like comfortable. And so like I went and I got my retwist, but I was still a little bit like on the fence with the locks. So I kept them in a protective style under my wig. And I remember like talking to the guy who ended up mentoring me. When I would go to like the meetings, I would wear the wig. Like I would wear my locks out, and then when it came time for the meeting, I would tuck my locks in the wig and then just wear the wig. And at some point, like it almost literally started to feel like a hat to me. Like I can just tell like I was outgrowing this. So one day I was just like, you know what, I'm just not. I was gonna wear my locks, and this is what it is. And I also went into it thinking like I just don't want people dealing with me because of a certain perception that they have. Like if I want somebody to deal with me, I want them to deal with me for me and not because of how I look. And so if I'm going to this meeting and my hair is a problem, then that tells me everything I need to know. I need to just cut my losses and move on. Of course that didn't happen, but like that was just where I was because like I felt like that ended up being like an act of rebellion against like really just like the way dating is and the way people value others. I was just like, I don't, and even like outside of the locks, like even to this day, I still have like a faceless profile, right? Most of the stuff that I post is more on my artwork, what I contribute, but like my contributions is not my looks, and I don't want my contributions to be my look. I get enough of that dealing with like dating sites and stuff like that, but like I see it online where a lot of people like they will idolize someone just because they look good. They can listen to what they're saying, and just like I explained, with the first girl who was the influencer, everything you say could be completely false, and people will hang on every word just because you look a certain way. Or I've seen it to where somebody can be talking about something serious, and then the people in the comments says, "Oh, you're so pretty," and it's just like, yo, that's not what this is about. So like when I make stuff like this, like content like this or commentary, like a lot of times I don't even bother going on camera because again, I know how vain people are, and it's not like anyone's bad. I think it's just a social conditioning. I think it's just a primal thing, but we are like that. And I don't want people to fuck with me and support me because of a look. When it's not about that, it's about what I'm saying. It's about the lessons, the knowledge that I'm trying to like give and transport. And so like I would rather not have people know what I look like, And I don't plan to like be like completely anonymous, but like people don't really need to see that much of my face because it's not about my face, and I just prefer to do it like that. I think at some point like I would again like be fine with like showing my face and not really care the way people take it or not. But yeah, it's just for my brand and for the people that associate with me, I just don't want to be around that kind of mentality. And I've been around like some people who really like act and think that way, and unfortunately, like some people, they will only associate with you when you wear certain brands, when you look a certain way. I've had guys who would entertain me just because they thought I looked good. And I will ask them, like, why are you interested? Oh, I think you're pretty, and I'm picky and blah, blah, blah. And for some of them, it's little to no personality. Like, it's little to no, you can tell like there are some people, they just get by in life just by association, just because they have a certain aesthetic. People is like, here, take my wallet. What do you need? I got you. Like, even some people that I know personally, like if they need something, all they got to do is just ask somebody and they're like, I got you, I can do it. And like, I think in a way that kind of ties into why I hate asking for help. And I feel like I need to like find my voice and be able to like project my voice and ask for the things that I want and need. But I personally have an issue with doing that because, again, I don't want to come off like I'm manipulating people because I low key have been manipulated, and I don't, even when it comes to like dating and stuff, I'm intelligent enough to get a guy. He doesn't have to be like someone who wants to be seen. Like I literally can probably get someone who is like an executive boy boardroom. I've done it. I've done it at my heaviest. And I may not be feeling this guy, but because, I say the right things and I do the right things and I look a certain way, I can just entertain him for the moment and just and get my surgery like it's nothing too. But it's just like I don't want to do that. I don't believe in that, and I just want to stand by that. And I don't know. I feel like I owe it to a lot of other people who would look up to me or want to do something better or be in a better world. Like I just feel like people should be considered for who they are and not for what you can gain, from them. So yeah, I feel like for me now, it's really just a battle that I'm trying to like sort out within myself. Because on the one hand, yes, I do have to use my privilege to my advantage, and one of them is that I am still fairly young. I'm 34, I'm not a spring chicken, but I am not an old hen either. I'm single, I have my own. I take care of myself, and so like, there is a certain level of privilege that I should be using, but at the same time, I just don't believe in using people, and I don't want to have to do that. But I don't know. I don't know. It seems like sometimes you have to be want to make the hard decisions. And I notice how there are some people they actually, and again, I don't think that, I don't know if they know if they do this. I think maybe it's just a lifestyle. Maybe it's just what they're used to doing. So for them, they're probably oblivious. This is what's happening, but like, that's really what it is. But for me, like, I'm aware of it, like I'm aware, like if I smile a little bit or if I talk a certain way or if I go to somebody's table, like this other girl's table who's inviting me over, should I go ahead and bite it just because I know I can get some gain out of it? Like, does that make me a better person? You know? And so, like, those are the things I'm just kind of battling. It's a head over heart type of thing, but then also I can't live in fairy tale land. Like, at the end of the day, I am dealing with human beings, and they do tend to respond to vain reasons. Like, even like down to AI, you can see how some people, they would get behind this AI character to sell their products because they feel like themselves are not good enough. And I don't know. I don't know if I should comply to that. Like, I understand that's how it's always been, but is that something to comply to? Like, I'm not really feeling that. And I'm not really feeling to be like around people who think that that is okay or that's just what it is. Like, why does it have to be that way? But yeah, I don't regret going locked or anything like that. I actually like it a lot. Sometimes I do think like, maybe I can put a wig on and stuff, and I still might. But like, I think ever since I've gotten locked and been just wearing it out freely, I think the way I feel about myself has changed. Like, I feel like a lot more comfortable. Like, I don't think I would have been so comfortable with showing my arms if I didn't embrace my locks. Because once I started to embrace my locks, I was just like, okay, well, this is my hair, and this is how I really am. These are my arms. This is how I really am. There are some people, they still find me attractive, but like, I just wear myself on the surface. And I would say like I've attracted more quality people. And I think it's just more so an energy thing. And not to say that some people who wear weaves and stuff, they don't carry that energy, but I think it was for me and my upbringing and the way that I thought about myself and other people and my placement. When I started embracing the lots, I felt more liberated. It was an act of rebellion for me to say like, fuck you. Like, no, I'm not complying to your standards, and I'm not going to be a slave to it either. Like, I'm not about to be walking out of here with some lashes and a full beat and weave or whatever, because if I don't wear these things, I feel naked. I feel like I don't deserve, like, no, like that's not what it is. No, and I refuse to do that. And so, yeah, I'm cool with that. I do hope that at some point, like, as I'm unpacking these things, I can start to really like lose, because I really do want to lose like these 15, 20 pounds, but like, I don't know. I feel like symbolically, partly why I haven't been able to lose it is because of my deepest, darkest feelings about myself, of how I still have this insecurity and how like I'm still afraid to ask for the things that I deserve, because deep down I feel like I don't deserve them. And I know I need to release that dead weight, and I have to be able to like really just set those standards, especially when it comes to dating. Like, I'm really starting to like have an eye opener to that, because there are certain things that I've allowed myself to accept and deal with just because I was hurting or I was trying to fill a void. And I realized it's not healthy. And when I come in contact with some of these guys, I have to be vocal about where my standards are and be able to be critical and be honest, and set those boundaries early when it's something that I don't like. And I just have to bring it to the attention, because like, I can't allow people to walk all over me. And I feel like that in itself is a recipe for disaster. Being, attractive and being smart, being a good resource to people, but then also being a rag doll, also being a mule. And because deep down, you still feel like you don't deserve, so you overcompensate by making yourself a tool, making yourself, useful to people. And that is the thing that I really need to really get out of my system. So yeah, I guess I was a whole mouthful. I probably should have wrote some of this down, but I'm glad I kind of spoke it because I know it's just been on my head. And so yeah, I think like me doing this would probably be like a step in the right direction. And I hope that other people can take some insights off of this and to do the work within yourself. But then also you have to just be comfortable in yourself and just understand the world is the way it is. And all you can do is just change the things that's within your own perception. So that's all I really want to get on here and talk about. So until next time.